yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome to Comics and Crypto, your source for everything collectible. We are here with the amazing Bad Idea CEO and Chief Creative Officer, Dinesh Shamdasani. Dinesh,
hey,
thanks for joining us.
Dinesh.
Thanks for having me, guys. Excited to be here.
Yeah. It's been so awesome, man, having a chance to meet you last year. Well, actually, met a couple of years ago at San Diego Comic Con, but had a chance to really chat at New York and, bring you on the podcast, man. We really look forward to this.
Yeah.
Awesome. I'm excited. I can't wait to be chatting.
Yeah, definitely. But before we dive into Planet Death, we're really excited to go over the comic in both physical format and also just dropped on VeVe, which everybody's been talking about.
Yeah.
We're going to talk in a second, but we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsor, Fanable. Fanable is revolutionizing collecting by merging physical collectibles with digital ownership. Ship your graded comics, games, VHS tapes, and action figures for free, where they'll be stored securely in a Brinks vault and backed by blockchain technology. With free shipping, free storage, and free insurance, you stay in full control. Dive into weekly mystery cases, hit a grail, and even sell it instantly with a 90% buyback option, all on fanable.io. Also available on iOS and Google Play. And everyone out there, if you don't know, we are doing an awesome giveaway, and here's the video for it. Lord of the Rings fans, we're collaborating with Boss Logic to give away the sealed VHS copy of The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, signed by Elijah Wood himself. We have this VHS tape personally signed by Elijah Wood at LA Comic Con, and it also comes with JSA certification. The item will be shipped worldwide to one lucky winner. Go to our Twitter or Instagram account now to enter. Don't miss your chance to make this collectible your precious.
That's awesome. Great signature placement, too.
Oh, it's awesome. It was a blast meeting Elijah Wood and talking about it a little bit.
That was also that was Fan Expo. That wasn't actually it.
Yes, audio. Yeah. It was like we didn't see him at LA, but we actually got that signed at San Francisco Fan Expo. It was really fun.
He was a nice guy. He's very talented.
Unbelievably nice guy. Actually, a friend of mine produced and edited a documentary about the first female, also Japanese, country singer at the Grand Ole Opry, and it premiered at South by Southwest. He financed and narrated it. So I had a chance to be there more intimately a few years back. And I can't say enough positive things about Elijah Wood. He's the man. Yeah, great guy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But Dinesh,
yes.
Let's dive into Bad Idea. You've played such a major role in shaping the modern comic book landscape and revolutionizing Valiant to launching Bad Idea. Can you walk us through your journey in the industry and how it led to where you are today?
Sure. I was a 90s fan, so I was a big Valiant fan. Wizard magazine really got me hooked. I grew up in Hong Kong, so we didn't have a lot of comics, so Wizard was a big piece for me, trading cards. And then when I did find a comic shop, Valiant felt penetrable. It felt new. It felt exciting. I was very lucky. I got the chance to run Valiant. Valiant was this huge universe of characters from the 90s, built by Jim Shooter, Bob Layden, Benjamin Smith, David Lapham, all these giants of the industry. And then it was sold to a video game company called Acclaim. Acclaim ran it for a number of years. They made a bunch of video games out of it. Shadow Man franchise of games, Turok franchise of games. And then Acclaim declared bankruptcy, just its entire business. And there was a big bankruptcy auction. And that's when I got involved. I was one of the people that were trying to get the rights, figure out what was available, do our due diligence. And through a long, and I won't bore you with it, a version of events, I ended up with the rights, the group that I was part of. And we spent 7 years trying to figure out how the comic book business works until we realized it doesn't really work. And you have to approach it very differently. And then we spent 8 years, relaunched it in 2012, largest new publisher launch in 17 years at that point. We were very lucky, set a lot of sales records, won 1,000 or so awards. We were the most best reviewed publisher in the business every month that I was there, until 2018, when there was a change in control. One of our investors, Chinese firm, decided that they wanted to take control, and we couldn't stop them, and they forced me and a couple other people out, and then most of the executives left shortly afterwards. And I loved comics. I loved working with all these people that became my friends, like Luis Arosa. You can see his art here. Matt Kitt wrote that book, another buddy of mine. And we decided, let's just make comics together again. Started Bad Idea. We've been doing that since 2019. That's
incredible. Wow. Yeah, and I remember hearing a story about the Bad Idea donuts, which I thought was wild too.
We at Valiant, our job was to try and build a little mini Marvel, right? Valiant initially had been built by ex-Marvel employees, the ex-editor-in-chief. And the DNA of that company was to try and build a superhero universe that was, whatever, a little gnat on the back of a Marvel or DC. And so we tried to run that play, and we did everything that they say that you should do, in terms of like being everywhere you can, making it easy for people to come to the books and get the books and read the books, and making them accessible and priced cheaply. And we had a lot of success. And I think maybe subconsciously we were all a little bored of that. So when we launched BadIdea, we did the opposite. We were only in 250 destination stores. We did no variants, no trades, no digital. The book sold out almost instantly. No second printings. We were a little nutty, and we would announce silly things like we had this huge launch, despite being incredibly stupid and doing all that. We had this huge launch. First wave of books sold great numbers. Really shocked us. We didn't know how to handle that. Wasn't what we expected. So we thought, wouldn't it be great if we could keep relaunching the company? And so we said, you know what? We'll just announce that we're going out of business. And then we came back as a donut company. Buy a donut, get a comic book, which was fun.
That was great. I remember, I think Comic Tom did a video covering that, and he talked about the frenzy of what everybody at the Comic Con was going nuts, and they were reselling the boxes of donuts with the comic inside. They were selling it for more than
it at SE Comic Con, and Rob Young, Borderlands Comics, runs that convention. He was very kind. He let us do whatever we wanted. And we said, we want to be just outside in the lobby and set up a little child's pastry shop, a little house. You buy it on Amazon for like $50. And we'll go in there and we'll crouch in there and we'll sell donuts out of the little window. And there were more people outside of the convention trying to get these. The lines went on for hours than were in the show. It was wild.
That's incredible.
The worst part is we called it the perfect donut. Now I'm going to reveal something. Maybe I shouldn't. We called it the perfect donut. $20, you get a donut and a comic book, and then the box. And it was like $100 on eBay right after.
Yeah.
But we said there's twice as much flavor per bite as any regular donut. Which, how does that even make sense? And all we did is we went to the Krispy Kreme down the street, bought dozens and dozens and dozens of these things, came back, and just here you go. And we had people buy them and go, oh my God, this is the greatest donut I've ever eaten. This is 10 times better than any donut I've ever had.
Anything like this?
It's the power of suggestion.
Power of suggestion. Yeah. So you tell somebody they're spending $20 on a donut, they're gonna believe it's gonna taste like a $20 donut.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's the fine dining world, right?
Right. Yeah. True.
I've watched quite a few of your interviews, and you showed some of your collection, and you have probably some of the coolest comic and art collections out there. Are you able to share some of your favorites that you've collected over the years? Sure.
The problem with being a comic collector is you're surrounded. This frame right here.
Yeah.
Okay. If I was to tilt this, there'd be like there's this right here. There's what else do I have around here? There's I've got my binder here there's like a first Jim Lee X-Men in there, She-Hulk 1 cover, 2 Watchmen covers. They lie sitting around. What's that? Crisis cover, Man of Steel 18. But a lot of the stuff, I mean, I love them all.
Was that
Valiant stuff? Sorry?
Was it Death of Superman? Did I see in there too?
The trade, yeah.
The original art for that.
The original art for that page?
It's it's a trade paperback.
Oh my gosh.
The trade paperback. I think it sold like 4 million copies this trade. I had a copy of this trade. So when this came up,
wow.
The entire Superman 75 issue is owned by one collector, and in Saudi Arabia, I think, except for 2 pages. Dan Jurgens and Brett Breeding each own a page, so maybe one day they'll let it go. But it's basically impossible to get a page from that. So, and I love Death of Superman.
Sure, that guy will probably spend a pretty penny to complete the book from those guys. So it's a good idea that they're holding out.
I think that's awesome. So anything I can get my hands on, I will. The Man of Steel 18 cover, which first Doomsday, but check this out. It's got this awesome little thing.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Cool. That's
incredible. They knew.
Wow. We actually had a chance last year to have Todd McFarland on, and we were helping advertise his 1-of-1 NFT sale for Spawn #1, the cover art.
Yeah.
And that was awesome. It was so much fun talking about it. And he was saying, I don't sell my comic art, so this is probably going to be your only chance to get it in digital format, because after I pass, if the kids want to sell the physicals, they can, but they're likely probably never going to do that.
Yeah.
And it was fun to somebody from one of the viewers actually emailed us and said, we watched your interview with Todd and I ended up buying it. It was my first NFT I ever bought.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's like
spent thousands on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
He famously, anything from Spawn onwards, he sold all the Spidey stuff or a lot of Spidey stuff, but anything from Spawn, I guess he says he learned his lesson because he's seen the prices, and he's right to keep it.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Well, is there a piece that you're like, most sentimental about in your collection? It doesn't have to be comic art, anything really. I'm just more curious if there's anything.
I mean, it's the stuff that that doesn't mean anything to anyone else. Like I get excited about some of the Valiant stuff. I love Barrington Smith, so I've got a bunch of Valiant covers. I got one piece I got recently that is so dumb, but I love it. I'm so excited I have it. Is the cover to Ravage 2099 #1. The stand that they did that 2099 universe. Stan Lee created a new character, Ravage, and it's not a great book, and the art is fine, but I had it as a kid. I loved it.
Yeah, it's just sentimental.
Yeah.
So much. I actually had a chance recently. I produced a feature film like 4 or 5 years ago. It's my first feature film that I produced, and a friend of mine gave me the ticket stub, and it was at CineQuest Film Festival, which is a pretty well-known film festival in the United States, and it was really sentimental for me to have that. And because I didn't get one, I just walked in, had a badge, and I got it graded by PSA. So it's for me. Yeah, I got a great. It's fantastic. That's so cool. Yeah. So I love that you said that. It's things that really mean a lot to you personally, but probably don't mean a lot to anybody else. But for me, that's like one of the most sentimental pieces that I have in my collection for sure.
Kind of the point of collecting,
It's a kind of a trophy of an accomplishment in your life. That's amazing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I suppose, have you focused more on the comic art recently, like more so than I guess collecting actual books?
Yeah, I'm gonna sound like a total asshole now.
Impossible.
I swore. When I sold Valiant, when I was pushed out of Valiant, they the way that the deals with the contracts were structured, they could push me out at that point, but they had to pay me close to a fair mark. It was a lot of money. They had to pay me a lot of money. So I found myself no longer in control, having my dream job, no longer involved in the characters that I loved, and with a pile of money that I had no idea what to do with because I'd never seen that kind of money before. And I certainly wasn't thinking about the money when I was working. I was having so much fun, and I really loved that company. So I had this Valiant-shaped hole in my heart, and I was trying to fill it. And I'd started BadIdea, and I knew that would take a couple years to ramp up. So I started to say to myself, I'm going to buy every Silver Age key I never had. I'll buy low-grade versions. And then, of course, you go, well, then I'll get them graded. And then they come back, and they're like 0.5s or 1s. And you go, well, maybe I'll go 2.5 each. I'll get a 2.5 set. And then you go, well, maybe a 3, maybe a 4, maybe. And I started buying higher grade. Then I go, okay, Golden Age, pre-code horror, obscure things, errors. I want the Mark Jewelers copper books. And then you just start to go mad down that rabbit hole. And because this is why I sound like an asshole, because I had money, it's easy to find that stuff. You can just spend money and get all that stuff. So in the matter of like almost a year and a half, I had everything that I would want. I built a commercial grade room in my house that looks like a showcase for comic books. It's all lit up and stuff. And I said, I'm going to build this so that I was thinking about work. Anyone that I have a meeting with that comes over, director or financier or whatever, I can show it to them. And any book that they say, do you have this famous book? I do. I've got that. Here it is. Here's that one. Have you seen this rare one? But I filled that room up in like a year and a half. And the hunt was gone. But then art, the hunt never ends because a lot of stuff doesn't exist, or it's in a collection you'll never hear about, or it's with the artist. And they're like Todd, he's like sentimental. So you're just always hunting. Yeah. And it's expensive. So you can't ever get your fill. So that led to now I think maybe the final level. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, it's interesting, the hunt. I love that you emphasized that. We heard a story from a friend a couple of years ago about how him and his dad owned a cover art for this DC comic, not necessarily a valuable or well-known comic, but apparently there was a collector trying to find it. And he spent almost 5 to 10 years trying to find this cover art. And he finally contacted them. He found them and said, hey, guys, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. And they ended up selling to him for like $50,000 or $60,000, which was ridiculous considering they paid for it, which was like, I think just a few $100s, maybe 500 or 1,000, something like that. But yeah, I just think it's so fascinating because it meant so much to him, right? That comic probably had a special place in his heart, and he wanted to own that original cover art. So I think it's cool. And it's so cool to hear those stories.
It's fun, man, and the deal making is also kind of fun. I had a Grail. It was a Unity Zero cover, the Barnes with Unity Zero cover, and I finally, after 4 or 5 years, figured out where it was, made the deal. The guy wouldn't turn up. He didn't want me to know who he was. His girlfriend came, told me everything, showed me his Facebook page. She didn't care. But I had to do the deal in a parking lot in front of a Chase. The Chase bank thought I was being robbed. So they froze my account and called the cops. And then we had to explain it all. And they're like, what are you buying? I was like, comic card. And they're like, what are you talking about? That's how much it is? That's a lot of money. Then I had to stay longer. It was in New York. I had to extend my trip because I wanted the piece 2-3 more days for my account to get unfrozen, be able to withdraw. He wanted all cash. It was like,
Well, you got it.
I mean, I got it. I got it. I was with 2 buddies that live in New York. I got it. I immediately saw a Mexican restaurant across the street. I was like, let's go get Mexican food. I want a margarita to celebrate. And then I had on the table and we're eating all this dirty Mexican food. Margarita spilling everywhere, and the art's right there. It was fine, didn't get damaged. But I remember I was peeling. I was like, "There's a stat. I don't know if you know the cover, but there's all the Valiant characters on it, and on the bottom right-hand corner is Pete Sanchez from the Harbinger book, and there was a stat. I was like, "That's weird." So I started peeling the stat a little bit. Underneath is a different drawing. So I get my camera out, I take a video, and I peel it off because it's better because the glue will eventually yellow the paper. So you want to get it taken off and put back on in a conservative fashion with the right glue. And I know Valiant used paste up glue. So I pulled off, and it's Torque. Instead of Pete Sanchez, it's Torque. Torque, who died in issue 6. So I assume they were drawing the cover before they decided to kill him 6 issues in, and then had to patch it later. As a Valiant fan, I love Valiant trivia. I never knew that piece of trivia. It's very cool.
That's wild.
That's super cool.
It's just like that Man of Steel 18, the little things on the back. Sometimes I had a Todd McFarland page. My buddy wanted it, so I told it to him. And on the back was the most exquisite Todd McFarland drawing of a pile of shit with flies and smell lines. I don't know why he did that. Huge, big piece.
There's definitely probably a deeper meaning behind that.
I've heard a lot of times when they're done compositionally and they're just rendering, they'll pick up the phone, they'll talk to someone while they're rendering because it's kind of busy work.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll flip it over and they'll just get in a channel. They'll just start to scribble around stuff. So a lot of times the backs of pages have a lot of interesting things.
That's fascinating. Wow.
Yeah, it's fun.
Say before we get into the next question, I want to give a quick shout out to some of the people who are here watching us live. What's going on, Gary O?
Okay.
What's up, Christopher?
Yes.
Hey, Michael.
Michael, what's up? CeeLo. Hey.
Hey, Martin.
Martin.
Pixel Trader.
What's up, Pixel?
We got 24/7 in the house. We got Carl here.
Oh, I love you guys.
That is true. At least I'm. Yeah. I was born in the 90s, so definitely too young for me, at least.
Spoilers, he dies. Sorry.
Spoiler alert.
That's good. And then congrats on the release today of Evermind 3, Carl.
Congrats, Carl.
Get your copy now.
Yeah, everybody, I'll get a copy. I got mine today. I'm excited to give it a read.
Definitely.
But yeah, so we were talking before, and you guys kind of have a reputation of BadIdea for breaking a lot of the rules and doing things in a very non-traditional way. And I'm kind of curious, like, was that the vision always from the beginning, or was that something you kind of worked your way into as you started to grow the company?
No, from day one, my deal with Valiant, when it ended, the company that took over, I think they made a foolish decision. Usually, you would lock someone like me up so that I couldn't go and compete. Especially if there's money involved, you parse it out over years. Mm-hmm. They didn't do that. They gave me all the money at once and they said, get out the door. And they did. The only thing they did is they said, we want a 30-day consultancy, which they never used. They never called me. And you have a non-poaching, a non-solicitation. Mm-hmm. So I can't call anyone from Valiant and say, do you want to come work for me? I didn't have to. Everyone called me immediately. So day one, I woke up the next day and, publishing more than 24/7. You eat, sleep, drink. It's just constant stress, constant work. It's never ending. And then you become the kind of person that needs that adrenaline. So I knew that the very next day after I was out of Valiant would be kind of a crash. And I was like, I got a plan for that because I don't want to get into like a bad mental state. So I said, okay, I'm going to start my new company. I'm going to start thinking about it. And so literally day one, I was writing down a list, and I had this epiphany, which is I loved Valiant, but I'd been building someone else's house. My job was to take it back to grandeur and maybe build some more levels on top. But I didn't come up with the idea. It wasn't my DNA, my tone. It was Jim Shooter, Bands, all those guys. And now for the first time ever, I have scary proposition. Am I going to be able to do it or not? Have the opportunity to build my own point of view. And I had learned a lot at Valiant, learned a lot of the levers in comics. So I thought, well, what are the things I would do better if I could? One of the things that came to mind is at Valiant, we had the statistic 80% of our books were sold by 245 stores, 247 stores. Out of the 3,000 that are there in the world, only 247 sold 80% of our books. And I remember saying this to Mike Richardson at Dark Horse, and he was like, yeah, it's about the same for us too. So independent publishers, generally, it's a very small number of really, really good stores that sell the majority of independent books. The rest are Marvel and DC, mostly Marvel, frankly. So I said, okay, what if we Jerry Maguire this? What if we try to do better by those stores? Can we raise our numbers per store, have a bigger impact? There's programs that we couldn't do 3,000 versions of, but we could do 250. And that started kind of a cascade of, let me build a bunch of rules that I know I'll break, but things that I can't do now or shouldn't do now, I'll act like we don't want to do them. And then when we do them, silly things that are obvious, like doing trades, will suddenly become a big talking point, big announcement. People get awareness about it. So yeah, right from the get-go, we were trying to do something different.
That's cool. And I guess, were you ever like worried, I guess, because you're doing all these like very limited releases, were you ever worried about, the comic like not getting into enough hands and, not getting enough readers and how that would affect loyalty and all that?
I was worried about that from before even thinking about what BadIdea could be. That's publishing's reality. That's I mean, Carl can attest to it. Every publisher is constantly worried because the systems are breaking down. You see these distribution changes that are massive happening with Diamond and Lunar and PRH. You guys are one of the very few major outlets that talks about comics. There's not a lot. There used to be a lot of them. Now it's you guys, some influencers, Bleeding Cool. There's not a lot of places we can get awareness. Even Marvel and DC struggle with this with their events. There's a lot of problem. The pricing of papers going up. There's a competition for entertainment dollar for consumers. So I worry about that constantly. I tried to turn that into a benefit at BadIdea. I said, what if I limit the availability of the books, the ability for people to get the books, make it difficult, make them force them to go to their store opening day before lunch, get something physical. And then I can make the fact that we're not selling well into a benefit, a business advantage. And then that went out the door when we sold, like our average sale, average copies sold per book at BadIdea is higher than it was at Valiant, despite being in 100 times the stores at Valiant. And I think that's partly because what I've been told from retailers is people walk into a store, they see a BadIdea book, they think, it's not going to be here in an hour. They sell out immediately. I'll never get a chance. And there's no trades. They're not anywhere. They're not in the back issue market. I'm going to buy it. And so our readership is very high. And that was a big problem because we didn't expect that. We expected very small numbers. And then we had a plan 1 year in to announce something we still haven't announced. That's a big part of our company. And then have everyone go and look at all the books and say, oh, well, they're rare now. I want to track them down. And then we do trades. So we've had to change. We had to evolve with the marketplace.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask is that for Planet Death, you kind of flipped the script and went the total opposite direction and, printed 650,000 copies. And it's, one of the most produced, modern comics in the last 30 years, probably the most. So I guess what was the reason for kind of making that switch? And yeah.
It had been 5 years. You can only be annoying to your fan base for so long before they turn on you. And we didn't want to get to that place.
Yeah.
And we knew we were a lot of work and we wanted to reward. We always try to, everything annoying we do, we try to build some hope and some reward for it. But we were feeling like, one, we were too long in the tooth at that game. Two, the slate that we were looking at the slate going, this is the best slate we've ever been involved in. Planet Death is the first of 6 books. They were all absolute bangers. I'm incredibly proud of all of them. I can't wait for them all to get out there. Any one of these books could have been the launch book, which is something we think a lot about. What's the launch book of a slate? Half the marketing goes to that first book. Any one of these 6 could have been that book. It was a Sophie's choice for us. And it felt like these books could go really wide. It felt like they could have a life, which Planet Death is evidence of. We actually, our final number on issue 0 was 909,650. Wow. So it climbed and climbed and climbed.
Yeah. And then I had 2,000 digital editions on top.
Yeah. I mean, everywhere I'm looking, it's just, I mean, it's Tomas Girella's art. That's a big factor. Rob and Derek, they wrote a killer story. I think it's a really clean, really exciting way into this kind of a narrative. Plus the John Wick component of it all. Yeah.
Unbelievable. It's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, issue 0 is a very good, cliffhanger, very good, intro to get everybody hooked.
Yeah, that's how we built it. That's what we want to do. We looked at the art and said, if we can, everybody that reads comics and sees this art is going to buy this book. If you don't see this art, and go, I want to check this out. I don't know that you like comics, frankly. So we were thinking about how do we get the art out there in the biggest way possible with the constraints of there's not really a press cycle in comics anymore.
Right.
We thought, okay, let's do some kind of a book that is tied to Free Comic Day, maybe slightly discounted, maybe in packs, ahead of the issue 1. Never in a million years expecting. If we'd hit 80,000 copies, we would have thrown a party.
Yeah.
To hit 909, I don't really know. It's hard to even digest that number.
Yeah. Party should get bigger. That's incredible. Yeah, I remember hearing a story about how in John Wick, Keanu Reeves apparently, I'm presuming probably talked to Derek and some of the writers that they wanted to make sure that John Wick spoke as minimal as possible in the film, and he was charging them per word, which I thought was great.
yeah, Derek's mentioned that to me.
Yeah, and I see in Planet Earth, I really enjoyed how every word had a tremendous weight in Planet Death. And
well, that was something they wanted to do very, very consciously. In fact, Derek came in. We had a first draft of Planet Zero, and Derek came in and he's like, I have an idea. And he sent a revised, and it was just cuts. It was just all cuts. Mm-hmm. And he was right.
Yeah. And I mean, it allows you to focus on the art too, just because there's not as many bubbles to have to read. So yeah. I mean, I got right here. I got my my San Diego Comic-Con edition that you gave me when we met at San Diego. And I just remember like instantly when I saw that, it was like specifically the page of the ship, like this page in black and white. When I saw that, it just blew my mind. I was like, I cannot wait for the rest of this series to come out.
Yeah.
Well, it's coming. It's coming soon. July issue 1. I think for me, 0 is half the issue 1 is. 1 is killer. Really excited for people to see that.
Nice.
And speaking about Derek, I was curious, how do you select the creators you work with, and what do you look for when building teams around a story?
It depends on artist or writer. Storytelling is always number 1, right? So you want to work with, for us, we prioritize that. It's not what everyone does, but we prioritize that. So it doesn't matter if they're known, unknown, new to the medium, not new to the medium, as long as they've got a really strong storytelling sense and they're collaborative. We tend to do quite a bit of work, a lot more, I think, than other publishers in terms of revisions. Mm-hmm. Rob and Derek did, 8, 9 versions of revisions on Planet Death each issue. Other publishers, I think if you get to a second, that's a big deal. So we're very heavy on that side. On the art side, it's the same kind of thing. It's storytelling, rendering. We tend to like more rendered stuff because it's more commercial, but it's storytelling. If you can act, if your body language is strong, if your composition is really strong, we get very excited. Those are the 2 major. And again, collaborative. It's all a collaboration.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, real quick, I wanted to bring up this comment here. Huge shout out to Brandon Babcock. So he's the whale currently. He is the top owner of Planet Death on VeVe.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, wow. Congrats, dude. Thank you so much for supporting, man. I'm glad you like it.
Yeah.
I
was very, very lucky. I landed 2 secret rares. I bought 5 copies of the digital. I landed 2 secret rares, and I got lucky. And I think I got an uncommon mint number 19, which is super, super low mint. I don't know if you're familiar with the significance of edition numbers and mint numbers, especially in digital format. But people get very, very excited about basically edition numbers. So like significant special mint numbers. So I mean, Sean, I don't know if you told Dinesh the purchase that we made.
We're talking about that. I think it was exciting because at first we heard it was going to drop on VeVe Comics, which traditionally they only have 1,000 editions across 5 different variants or multiple variants. And they announced that there's actually 2025, which speaks to our heart because we're really big publishing year comic mint hunters. So like the year it was produced, it's a 1 of 1. Essentially, it's the only number in our collection, right? Yeah. So we actually had the chance to purchase mint number 2025, which is the mint number and also the publishing year.
I didn't see this.
Yeah,
nuts. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I've got serious FOMO now because I didn't. You guys have educated me on VeVe. I didn't really know this world. I'm still learning a lot about it. I had no idea it would sell out. I didn't go and buy one. I suppose I can do that in the marketplace.
Yeah, definitely.
You can still get them in the marketplace. Yeah,
absolutely.
Do that.
So
need a set.
It was crazy. It got. We wanted to put a bounty out for it.
And we thought there was only going to be 1,000 editions. So we were like, I guess we can't do a bounty for 2025.
Here's the craziest part. Within the first 10 minutes of the comic dropping, I was in the process of organizing a bounty, and someone commented and said, "Hey, this is probably worth something, right?" And it was 25. Big shout out to our friend of the podcast, Martin, for selling it to us. But I talked to him. We negotiated, and yeah, he was able to give
That's
it to us.
awesome. Martin's a superstar. That's so cool.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm so happy.
Yeah. So this one's definitely
this one. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for supporting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think this
I'm sad I didn't get to buy more.
yeah. Yeah, what's really cool is there's a website called Stacker, and they've partnered with VeVe, and what you can go on there and actually see who's holding the most comics. So like who holds the most.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. It's amazing that the data that you can have now from digital is groundbreaking, because you can create so much utility and really fun ways to emphasize collectors in their collection. So it's really, really fun.
It's called Stacker.
It's called Stacker. Yeah, we'll talk more about it after the
Cool.
interview. I'm really excited.
And you probably already know this, but yeah, you said before you gotta collect the whole set, and I think there's a reward for people who collect all 5. They get a poster. Yeah,
that's right. So does that work even if you do it in the aftermarket?
Yep.
Yeah,
I think you just have to buy it. I think before whatever the date is, there'll be a certain date that they announce. It probably says it in the post there. What is
May 7th.
May 7th. Yeah. So as long as you get it before May 7th, then you'll get this exclusive poster as well.
Yeah,
this is something that you can display, in your vault, or display in the VeVe verse, which is kind of the metaverse that VeVe has created for the users,
and also an augmented reality.
Mm-hmm.
So
I saw that
on the wall, and I'm excited for you, Dinesh, to check out your comic in AR.
Yeah,
this is how little I know. I just learned that this morning.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for you.
Tonight, that's what I'm gonna do.
So far ahead of its time. When AR glasses become more common, this is going to be something exciting for a lot of people to have an opportunity to read a comic that they own in digital format, and they can actually read it with AR technology. So it's really exciting times. And this cover is so beautiful. This is, I believe, the 1 to 500. The Joe Quesada.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Joe was blown away by Tomas's art, and we asked him to do a cover. He said he's got a crazy schedule launching his own company, Amazing Comics. He said, okay, I'll do a cover. Then he wrote back a couple weeks later and said, I'm struggling. I don't know how to compete with Tomas. Can I do a wraparound? I'm like, yeah, please do a wraparound. And they came back and he sent the layout, and he's like, I couldn't make it work with a wraparound. In order for me to match even just one page of Tomas, so kind, right? I need to do a wraparound gatefold. Is that possible? I'm like, yeah, are you kidding? This is a dream.
It's epic. Yeah, when this was announced by VeVe, the secret rare floor shot up like crazy, because you have to own a secret rare and the rest of the collection as well. As obviously secret rares being the most limited and scarce. So it's been fun to see people react to it, and this is probably one of the coolest posters I've seen on the app. This is
oh really? This is all them. They really guided us through this. They walked us through. We gave them suggestions. They walked us through what pieces they thought would do well. They're doing it right. When I've looked at this piece for years now, I've worked on this book for years, and even I'm getting the FOMO. I'm like, I need that set. I need this collectible. I need all these things.
I was curious, actually, Dinesh. What's your opinion now on digital collectibles and being a part of this experience, and how do you see them fitting into the BadIdea strategy moving forward?
We're gonna keep tiptoeing, because I'm worried that we get it wrong, because we don't know, we don't have a feel for it. So we're gonna trust guys like you, trust VeVe. You guys will let us know how much to expand on and much to. But we're very keen on it. We love this stuff. Anything that is additive, and this is really additive. I mean, the AR experience alone, the fact that you can get a digital poster that you can turn around, it's all really cool. It's all additive. It's something we can't do in print. So for us, that's a really, really, really big positive. It kind of solves all problems. My only kind of hesitancy for digital collectibles is I collect enough stuff, and the more I know, the more I'm going to get sucked into this rabbit hole too.
Good luck.
Yeah, because I'm going to get this set, and then I'm going to get the poster, and then I'm going to be like, well, what about my other books that I love? What about Ultimate Fallout 4? I know there's a VeVe collectible of that. Let me look at the aftermarket for that, and I'm going to buy that.
I got to go support Carlin 24/7, get all their stuff.
It doesn't stop.
My first ever VeVe thing was a Carl thing. He's been trying to push me on this for a while. So I'm like, the Evermind stuff. I mean, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad.
It's definitely a rabbit hole. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, Dinesh, it's been absolutely incredible having you on today. And everyone out there, if you haven't gotten your copy of Planet Death, make sure to do so. It's sold out in the stores, but you can go into the secondary marketplace and pick yourself up a copy. And again, make sure to pick up a set if you like the airdrop coming May 7th. So you got to complete the set before that date.
Yeah.
And if you're not following Bad Idea, make sure to do so. We included their socials down in the details below as well.
Thanks, guys. This is super fun. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, Dinesh. And thanks everybody for joining out there. And remember to get involved in that giveaway. You can go to our Twitter account or click the link down below in the details as well to get a copy of The Lord of the Rings signed by Elijah Wood, and we're going to ship it worldwide. So best of luck, everybody. A big shout out to Boss Logic as well for collaborating with us on that.
Yeah, and also a shout out to our sponsor Fanable. A big shout out to Fanable. They're going to be doing their big signed comic drop next week, which is going to be very, very exciting. It got pushed back, but yeah, very, very stoked for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. Big shout out to Fanable. All right, everybody. Thanks again, and we'll see you all on the next one.
Thanks, guys.